What's going on, guys? DUBB. So this video I'm going to show you step by step how to remove an alternator from a Chrysler 300. You need a 3/8 breaker bar to turn the belt tensioner, allow you to remove the belt off the alternator. If you don't have a long breaker bar, just take your regular 3/8 ratchet and attach a long pipe to it to give you a little leverage. After you remove the belt from the alternator, just let it hang there. Here is a closer look on how I put the breaker bar into the belt tensioner slot. Turn it clockwise to release the tensions from the belt. Now we can go ahead and remove the alternator. I got this socket wrench where you can adjust the handle to different angles. This came very handy as you try to get into those tight spaces. Now I'm going to try to break loose those two bolts on the bottom and went ahead and use a breaker bar to remove the upper one. So removing the 3 bolts from the alternator is probably the most time consuming and the most difficult part about this job right here, because if you have an alternator sitting there for a while and those bolts are pretty stubborn and they don't come off easily, once you get them loose, the cursing will stop. I pretty much guarantee you that. And you can go and remove those 3 bolts easily. One down, 2 more to go. The alternator is resting on the engine block and support bracket. I went ahead and used a little pry bar to knock it loose. So now you can go ahead and unplug the electrical wire. I just went ahead and used a screwdriver and press it down the lever, then use the other screwdriver to pop out the plug. You can also remove the plug with your fingers if you have very strong fingers. After that, you have another wire into there which is held down by a bolt. I believe this is like a 13 millimeter. Let's go ahead and remove the radiator hose. Removing the hose clamp is one way, but I found out my hose is pretty much fused to the other end, so I went ahead and undo the 2 bolts, which is also a 13 millimeter. Make sure your engine is cooled down and there's no pressure inside the radiator hose. Now carefully bend the radiator hose out of the way. And go ahead and inspect the thermostat, make sure it's still good. If not, now is a good time to replace it. And go ahead and retrieve the alternator and bring it up through the top. Good job for taking it out without busting a knuckle. So here it is. Let's go shopping at the junkyard. I went online to price some of the alternators, and this thing costs between $450 to $550 for it, and I'm not willing to spend that kind of money on an alternator, so that's why I'm here at the wrecking yard. Hopefully I can find one that will work. The first alternator was a refurbished one from an older model, and this one here is 2010, but it looks kind of dirty. Let me go and remove it. So I have decided to get the refurbished one. That one seems to be a lot cleaner and a lot newer, and will probably have a lot more life left. And I know it's been rebuilt. This is made by Denzel. They just rebuilt it, so I went ahead and took this one instead. Let's go ahead and reinstall the alternator. Just carefully put it in there. Let's go ahead and put the wire with the terminal and lock it down with the nut, and come back with your socket wrench with a 13mm and tighten it up. Make sure the terminal is lined up correctly before you fully tighten it. Go ahead and insert your top bolts back in there. There's a bracket underneath the alternator. Go and wiggle it in and out a little bit. Allow you to slide the alternator into that slot, and afterward and line it up so you can put the bolt through it. Once you got all the bolts in the holes, go ahead and tighten them up. And don't forget to plug in the last electrical plug into the alternator. Let's reinsert the breaker bar into that slot and turn it so you can go ahead and wrap the belt around the alternator. Reinstall the hose and refill coolant if needed. Alright, the alternator has been replaced. All the bolts are tightened and the wire plugged in, and the radiator hose been put back together. Let's go and do a check on the alternator. First, I got the multimeter plugged in and I set to 20 volts. When I connect to the battery, I got 12.59 volts. Let's go and turn the engine on and turn everything on, AC, headlights and everything, and see what kind of reading we get. When I first start up the car, the voltage dropped and it went right back up and it's passing 14 volts. That means this is a good alternator. I spent $30 on the alternator, so you do the math. I say about $500 or more on it. So I hope you find this video helpful. If you do, give me a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Well, I hope this helped you on troubleshooting and replacing your alternator, and do it on a budget. Thanks for watching. Bye.